Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to do the centered zipper. What you'll need is 2 pieces of fabric and a zipper. Do not use an invisible zipper. Make sure you understand the difference between an invisible zipper. I know it's kind of hard to see. I'll try to zoom in a little. You want to be able to see the coils. This one is acceptable. It just has metal teeth instead of plastic coil. This zipper is also acceptable. It has some plastic teeth as well. This one, it would not be acceptable because you can't see the teeth. It's covered by the twill tape. So we would save this for the invisible zipper application. But any of these 3 would work for the centered and the lap zipper application that we're gonna do. You only need one, we're gonna go with this one. Okay, and it is okay to have a zipper that's longer than your fabric. You can always cut the zipper short later. Okay, so the centered application, here's an example of what it looks like. Let me zoom back out. When we're finished, there is a top stitch. There's a pink top stitch here that goes around your zipper. So you're going to see the top stitch. So that's a good thing to know when you're sewing it, as opposed to the invisible zipper, you wouldn't see it. So you wanna make sure you choose the correct thread color. The other thing about having a top stitch is that you can see if you sew it in a little crooked. Like right here, it's kind of narrow, and then this side's a little wider. So this one got sewn in a little bit crooked. So that's kind of the downfall of the centered zipper application. But it is a strong application other than that. So we're gonna do this application. Some people call it the railroad zipper, centered zipper application. I even had someone tell me they call it the slot zipper application. It's like, huh. This is different right here. This one is called a lapped zipper application. The fabric overlaps over the zipper, okay? So we'll do that one next. Okay, so to do the centered zipper application, you are going to, you would sew your seam together, the seam that's underneath the zipper, and then you'll base the seam together where the zipper belongs. So I'm gonna take my fabrics, I'm gonna put it right sides together. I'm gonna find my pins, here we are. And usually your pattern will tell you, you know, they'll have like a notch for where your zipper ends. So if my notch is right here, I would sew a regular seam underneath it and then baste right on top of it. So I'm gonna just add a little notch real quick. Is there scissors handy? Okay, those things. So I'm gonna put this, I'm just notching the seam allowance here. There we go. So there's my notch. So I'm gonna sew a regular seam underneath and back stitch and then baste the top. So I'm gonna do that at the machine right now.
This is?
Not necessarily. You want that stopper, you want the zipper stopper probably below where the notch is. I mean, it's not the end of the world if the zipper stop is right at the notch. Actually, since we are doing the centered zipper application,
It's really hard to go through.
that is true. So it is, you're right. It is easier if the stopper ended up right here. So you could sew.
Is it supposed to show when you unzip it?
I mean, there's no rule, there's no fashion police. I don't know if it's supposed to or not to, but that could work. Like, that's not a problem if it does show. What you wouldn't want to show is underneath it, because then there's a hole. So if you kept going and you had this hole, then you could see your skin and your body. But I don't think it's the end of the world if there was a stopper right there that the fabric covered. You didn't see. It doesn't matter. I think everybody does it a little bit different. And if you look online, there's so many different tutorials of how to do this. The way I do it usually, because I never buy a zipper the perfect size because they're so expensive. I actually have zipper on a tape and I'll cut off what I need, and there's no stopper because I just cut what I need. So I always cut a little bit longer, and I put in my zipper application and I just cut my zipper short after. You know, it's expensive to buy zippers from Joann's Fabrics, but I guess when you're in the industry, you order the exact size that you want. Okay, so anyways, I'm gonna sew a regular seam below my notch, and I'm gonna baste above it. So I'm gonna take it over to the sewing machine and do that now. Okay, so I'm gonna just start at my notch, and I'm gonna line up to 5/8 inch seam allowance. I'm gonna take out my pin. If I had the choice, I would like to sew with a wider seam allowance than 5/8 inch. It just makes my it makes the process a little bit easier, but I'm gonna sew with 5/8 inch since that's what most patterns have. So I am gonna back stitch, because I'm just finishing the seam of my garment. And then back stitching. Okay. Pull that guy out. Okay, so now the top, I'm gonna baste it closed here. Okay, so do you guys remember how to do a baste stitch? What length should the stitch length be?
5.
5, yeah, the longest one. Okay. Should I back stitch on the baste? We don't need to. And I'm gonna pull it out and cut my threads. Cool. Okay. Okay, so we have our base stitch and our regular stitch. So the next part of the process is we're gonna press open our seam allowance. So you'll take it to the iron and give it a press open. So I'm gonna go do that. Okay. Cool. So, so the technique I'm going to show you is I like to unzip my zipper, and then I like to line up my teeth to my basted seam. That way I know they're right in the center, because sometimes when I just place it like this, I don't always know that my teeth are perfectly on that basted line. And then I put in my pins. I like to match the top of my zipper to the raw edge, because usually a waistband or some other seam is going to get sewn at the top, so I like having that seam allowance here. I do see some students who like to put the stopper at the top, but then if you do that, you have your zipper in your seam allowance if you have to sew it to something else, which usually you do. Okay, so I just line it up the top. I match up my teeth to that baste guy. Okie dokie. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna get a zipper foot. Lots of different types of zipper feet. You just want a really narrow foot. I could either use this little guy up here, would be fine, or this guy's even closer. And I'm gonna start at the top, I'll back stitch, I'm gonna sew all the way down, and then I'm gonna do, well then once I'm here, I make sure my needle's in the down position and I zip my zipper closed. Then I can do pivot turn. If you guys remember pivot turn, the needle's down, the presser foot's up, and you're able to turn and sew this way, do another pivot turn, and come all the way back up. I'm going to sew forward, back stitch. Now for my pivot turn, my needle's down, my presser foot's up, and I can turn. Oh, before I turn though, I'm going to lift my presser foot up, my needle's down. I'm going to zip my zipper closed and lay it flat. So now my zipper's closed. Presser foot comes down. I like to sew with just the wheel instead of the presser foot for this part.
So you don't go past the...
You can go past it, you don't have to. Yeah, I don't know. For me with ISO zippers, I don't always care about where the end of the zipper is. But you absolutely can definitely go past the little stopper. Yeah. If you go too far past it, you'll see a little hole in between it. So you want to go right below it.
Yeah.
But you can go before it too.
Because of this.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna come back up. And here we go. And back stitch. All right, let's see what it looks. Another method that you could do is what I just did. You could base that and then flip it to the front and top stitch it. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, I'm gonna move this over here. Okay, so can you guys see that one? I mean, I can get a ruler. I think it looks pretty good. I don't know, it almost seems, oops, like a little closer on this side than this side. It's not perfect, I don't think. But the last step is to pull out your basting stitch. Threads out. I'm gonna trim all this off too.
Is that done?
And yeah, let's see if it works. So, get rid of all my little threads. Okay, so there we go.